Hey, how you doing? Today I'd like to talk about control, and there's this little thing that I've actually figured out called reverse projection. So, reverse projection is like when people will get angry and they start projecting things on you, and then you can pick up on it. And you're like, oh my god, man, that guy's so toxic, and then that would be projection, yeah. But this is the other part of this, like the other half, and I'm not too sure if many people have actually covered reverse projection, but this, in a nutshell, it's like this: if someone is projecting onto you anger or sadness, and you think that you are entitled to be some spiritual awakened being that can pick up on all of people's energy, which I myself can accuse myself of this because I think I'm like top shit. So, but if you do think that you're empath and you can pick up on this, how are you picking up on their anger? That's one. And how is their anger affecting you if you have complete control? How is this person so toxic that they are taking something from you, even though that's impossible? And if they're taking something from you and they're toxic and they're affecting your anger and you're in control and you understand all of this, what are you doing to prevent that? And what are you doing to understand it? And how did you come to this conclusion that it's them, not you? How do you know that it's not you? Another thing is that if we own all of our thoughts and our feelings, our emotions, our perception, our interpretation, what are we doing that makes us believe that projection towards us is not owned by us? So if I'm walking down the road and someone walks past me and I'm like, hey bro, and they're just like, pfft, and they don't respond, I'm like, wow, what an arsehole. If you really think about that, I'm the one calling him an arsehole. I'm the one that's choosing to be affected by that anger. Now, if I wanted to walk over to someone and ask them for a cigarette, yeah, and if they said yes, I'd be nice and happy, and if they said no, I'd be like, oh, okay then, and I'd be slightly disappointed because I don't get what I want. See? Now, if I was okay with that, and I asked and they said yes, and oh, sweet bro, thank you, and they said no, I'm like, oh no, that's okay man, thank you, and then just cruised, and yes and no was a valid answer. Most likely the answer would always be yes. And I think the reason that the person said no is because they could pick up on the vibe originally, pretense beforehand, that no would disappoint me. And now it's not even about asking for the cigarette. It's asking for what someone else owns and feeling entitled to own that. Now I think that when it comes to thoughts and emotions is the same. We try to exploit each other and ourselves from emotions and thoughts because this type of currency cannot be bought. It can't be, you can't buy it, you can't purchase it, you can't research it. It's something that is a self-discipline. So even though they say that this is how you cook a meal, like you actually have to learn how to cook the meal and get it down pat first before you can actually cook it. Just because you know how to do it doesn't mean that you have the knowledge of doing it, and then it doesn't mean that you are capable or have the capacity to do so. Okay, so then if there is a hater and that person is hating me, and I feel entitled to hate that person or dislike their hate towards me, how is this a thing? Like, how does it even come across? It doesn't make any complete sense because there's two sides of the story. This person does not like something about me, and now I don't like something that person does not like. And they are in complete control and I am too. I have a choice to be okay with that. But it's not personal because now this person is making a true choice, like a preference. Yeah, I wrote something down here. I'll read it out. So you are by rights hating what they are hating, therefore doing the exact same thing that you don't like, feeling entitled for control. So therefore, a person will say, I don't like when you act like that. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm allowed to feel however I want to feel. See how it stops there? Because you're trying to tell them that you're allowed to feel exactly what you don't like. So you're allowed to feel angry, but they're not allowed to feel angry. You're allowed to call names, but they're not allowed to call names. You're allowed to hate and judge others and judge yourself and feel insecure and tell other people that they're insecure, but they're not allowed to judge themselves and judge others and tell you that you're insecure. So always ask, like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And usually what's wrong is you. And so when we perceive the world, it is actually a true reflection of ourselves, but then it's a reflected reflection. It bounces back again. Because if I could perceive that there is haters in this planet that are hating what I'm doing, then I must be hating the haters. And first I would have to judge them to such a higher degree than what they are judging me, to put myself on such a pedestal, to feel so entitled that I'm above them, to say that my opinion is more valid than theirs, even though their opinion and my opinion is the same value and valid. Depends on the ethical or moral backgrounds, yeah? So if someone says that murder is bad and the other person says no it's not, that would be some grounds to stand on. But if someone says, do you like beetroot? And they're like, yeah. And then the other person's like, well, I don't like beetroot. So they really shouldn't be arguing over that. And I believe that, like, racism is the same and religion is the same and outlooks and perception and interpretation is the same. You cannot argue with someone because they got a different interpretation than you. We cannot, as humans, force each other to interpret things the way that we interpret it to satisfy ourselves. Because at the end of the day, if I was okay with your interpretation of the way that you perceive the world, then automatically you would reciprocate and be okay with me, because now there is no wall, there's no boundary, there's no argument, there's no fuel, there's no misunderstanding. You understand that I feel this way, I understand that you feel that way, and then it's okay. But people go through life trying to control the way that other people perceive them. So if I get a dirty look from someone, yeah, sure they're dirty looking me, yeah, sure they're judging me, yeah, sure they're thinking whatever they want to think or feel or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. But how do I know that they were disappointed from the phone call from their mum an hour ago? Or how do I know the life experiences and trust issues that they have? How do I know anything from their circumstances? And this comes down to intention. So, like, if I know my intentions, then really I've got no point to prove. So when it comes to when you interact with people, so for instance, if you are uncomfortable in a group of people, at a pub or a club or a home, a party, wherever this is, even at school, yeah? And you feel like these people are bullying you, best to realize this. If you feel like a group of people are bullying you, if they are or if they're not, if it's obvious or physical, obviously if it comes to physical stuff, it's a different story, but think about this. Why are they doing so? And why do you feel entitled to make sure that everyone knows that they're a bad person? Why do you want everyone to know that they're bullying you and picking on you and judging you? Now, we as humans, we want this because we want that entitlement and validation. We want that approval. We want protection. We want to feel good about ourselves. And we want everyone to know that we are good people. But then in return, what do we get? We either get paranoid, more insecure, we become seeking validation, we seek approval, and then all the spiritual teachers tell us that we don't need to seek approval, because if you seek approval and validation, then you're not good enough, and the best way is to have complete self-control over your, like, you don't need self-control over your mind. You can seek as much validation as you want. It's the truth. You feel how you feel, they feel how they feel. But at the end of the day, if you just looked at their actions as they were, and then you look at your intentions and your actions as they were, and you just left it that way, and you didn't dive into it any deeper than that, they would stand out. All of their actions and words would just stand out. And then what? There is, like, because everyone knows what's right and wrong, there is far more people on this planet that are moralistic and ethical, that have good behavior, and they have good structures and jobs, and they are very good people. And there are more than them than there are people that are miserable and overanalyze everything around them. So if someone walks past and they're like, And I'm like, sweet. Because this does two things. One, it disregards them being bad towards me. It disregards the whole thing. Yeah? The tension thing. The I can't believe people act that way thing, you know? And then it does another thing. It shows you your value. It goes, well, at least I would never do that to someone. So you got two ways to look at it. One, they're hating on you, or two, you're not hating on them. And so if you're constantly complaining about the way that people treat you like shit, constantly complaining about the way people treat you, then what are you doing about it? Like, all it is just you complaining about the way they're treating you, you feeling this way and it wrongly, you not feeling the way that you want to, you not thinking the way that you want to think. Yeah? Or two, when someone hates on you and they judge you, you just absorb it. Just take it all in. Just take it all in and say, oh, thank you. These are all compliments because I'm not doing any of this. Thank you. It's okay. People are allowed to do these things. It's not good. We have no control over that because that's their job to control that. It is your job to understand who you are and who you are not. Now, if people are going to walk around and treat each other badly, that's going to give you a VIP pass to understanding who you're not. That's a lot quicker path than searching for who you are. So I think food for thought. Like if the room was not dark, you would never need to turn the light on. And so as these people are not corresponding to who you are, then this shows you what you're not doing to correspond to who you are. It shows you, well, if I keep going down that path talking about these bad people the way that I am, then this just says that I'm not just like them, I'm worse. I'm like them, plus I'm empathic. And you know what? If there is a hater that is feeling angry and they are projecting that anger towards you first, they have to feel that feeling. They might not understand it or not. They might not be intentionally projecting onto you, but they have to actually feel that anger, which means they have the same capabilities as what you've got to feel emotions. So we can't look at them and say that they are emotionless creatures that have no backbone and spine because they're just walking around trying to blame everyone for their problems when they're trying to deal with their problems. And then us compassionate empaths, we feel so entitled to be like, well, because I've got a feeling and I feel like I'm better than you, I could tell you that you're doing something wrong. When in reality, if you were a real empath, if you were actually wanting to go down the path of becoming a better person, you should look at their anger and say, I understand you and I feel you and I will feel it with you. And it is not mine. And newsflash, it's not theirs either. And if you're okay with that, you can heal someone just by being okay with that. Yeah? And you don't need to analyze or think or reconsider anything because the answer is completely obvious. People feel feelings. People think thoughts. They all react different ways. But depending on how you react is actually depending on how you are affected. And depending on how you are affected is depending on how you perceive someone else's actions. Depending on how you perceive other people's actions and how you are affected and how you react is actually determining your whole experience of life itself. And that all comes down to who you are. So who are you? What entitlement do we have as humans? Food for thought, yeah? Hope you don't stub your toe because it'll probably hurt. See you around.